So Dave Meltzer has detailed a best and worst case scenario for AEW's new media rights deal with WBD. A total worst case. So like Dave, again, you're making this up, bro. You don't know. A total worst case scenario for the deal would be that the $170 million includes purchasing the rights to all pay-per-views. So for AEW, there's no more pay-per-view revenue. It's baked into the deal. An absolute worst case scenario for revenue is $232 million. A best case is $282 million. Okay, so Dave goes, a total worst case scenario is $178 million. That includes the pay-per-views. And then he goes, an absolute worst case, even worser scenario for revenue is $232 million. A best is $282. But both those could include $0 for any prospective deal with Fox. Oh my God, man. Adjusting for inflation, there were absolutely WCW years that beat that. But see, they just want to beat Bischoff. And I get it. Dave's trying to put it in like a historical context, but they're so interested in like beating WWE and beating WCW and But for gross revenue, no company other than WWE would have ever done that number. That number would be reasonably profitable at 232 and exceedingly profitable at 282. But we don't know that, Dave. Let's say they lost 150, then 150. We know about 1 year they probably lost 150. Let's say they lost 150, 150. You know math, Dave Meltzer? You were just spitting a bunch of numbers up over there. That it's not, man. It's not exceedingly profitable. If the talent's 100 million, dude, it's not exceedingly profitable. Maybe if it is per year after like a few years. But then you got to clarify that. You know what I mean, chat? You got to clarify that if you're going to say like in a few years. Because in a few years, a comet might hit the planet Earth and we'll be dead. So anyways, we talked about Mortis. We talked about Ricochet. Ricochet and the Beast Mortis fought each other. We talked about Sikoa and Cody. Callback. Remember, chat? I told you earlier in the show. I said, tuck it in the back of your mind. The cage match, 4.25 stars. Cody and Solo. So in Meltzer's mind, Cody and Solo in the cage on SmackDown is the same as the Beast Mortis versus Ricochet, and both are worse than The Rock versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 18. You mark! I pieced that together for you guys here, okay? Did you guys see the axe kick? I don't want to get Don Stevens. Ricochet threw that axe kick and missed. Did y'all see that? Now, that is the same as the cage match from the SmackDown. And I don't care what you think is better. Just, I would say, me personally, I'll say one's better than the other, but I don't think either of those could be rated the same in any circumstance, just based off the fact, like the venue alone, like just the fact it was like a USA debut and for the world title, all of these sorts of things, right? That elevates my rating automatically. But, you know, and then both of those matches are better than Hulk Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania 18. You know, that's how his brain works. Like, how does that? There's no psychology there. You guys understand what I'm saying? Like, Dave wants to talk all this. I'm so smart. I write all these words down. I fucking psychology. He doesn't know about it. Clearly, the way he thinks. We're studying you, bro. So, guys, I'm losing it. We got. I told you guys we had tons. So Meltzer said what? Again, and he DM'd me during the show. By the way, he's sending me during the show. So at Meltzer said what goes, I'll let you decide yourselves. Does Dave cover AEW's number X on cable exactly the same as he used to cover WWE's cable ratings and position in the rankings? So he's just pulling Meltzer's card here, right? So here's Meltzer going first in the time slot among roughly 130 rated shows is not a good thing. It's a great thing. You'd think by this week people would have figured this much out. Dave goes again, covered exactly the same rating comparisons with a year earlier running down the competition. You clearly don't read. And this guy goes, you used to say the exact opposite. Even if Raw was first for the night, you find nits to pick about it year after year. Then conveniently, once AEW came around, you've completely changed. So they're talking about how Dave goes like, yo, it's like, he goes, first in the time slot, roughly 130 rated shows is not a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, AEW's first on cable in the time slot, not for the night. And the reason people care is because Dave used to on WWE for the same thing. He doesn't get that. Like, the reason people care, it's because he used to say that. We're just using his logic against him. Eventually, people, like, if I just flipped up tomorrow and was like, AEW's great and blah, 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 you guys would be like, what the, unless they were genuinely putting on good shows. You know, you guys would all be like, Phil, what the, you would use my own logic against me. You'd be like, where's this and where's this? There was a lot of talk, and we pretty much last week predicted that Raw would likely sink to a 15-year low. There were a number of factors involved. The key was the Chicago Bears, blah, 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 blah. But they were number one for the time slot. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So this is Dave in the past just talking, doing the same thing, being like, just talking about why WWE ain't, even though they were first in the time slot technically. And even doing better ratings than AEW's doing now. SmackDown did a 1.83 rating and a 2.63 million viewers. The rating was a little down from what they've been getting, but ironically, it was the second highest show on cable for the night behind the O'Reilly Factor. It did a whatever, and, you know, highest rated show of the night, males, whatever. So I don't know, man. He highlights it. Go check out Meltzer Said What. I'm not going to read every little thing. The Young Bucks and Okada versus the Don Callis family on Dynamite, 4.75 stars. Now, chat, do y'all remember we were watching that live? Was Husey on Wednesday? I think it was Wednesday, yeah. And, like, we couldn't give a... I mean, obviously, we're just laughing with Husey hanging out. Yeah, that was really cool, and we couldn't give about that match, like, regardless, you know? Still, if HLA's on, I'm going to get distracted, but the match was complete and utter ass. So he's already got the built-in excuses about why AEW Grand Slam's going to flop. And we've covered this on the show. Meltzer loves to use Caitlin Clark as a crutch now. And he goes, AEW Grand Slam is usually one of the highest rated shows of the year, but this year they're going against a Caitlin Clark playoff game, Indiana versus Connecticut, game 2, which will do massive numbers. I saw a stat that blew my mind regarding how much Clark has meant. ESPN and TNT averaged 1.56 million viewers last season for regular season NBA games. Dave, none of those 1.56 are watching Dynamite. And here's the thing. If Dynamite still does a 100,000 or 700,000 people, then Dave's rhetoric and Dave's excuse of Caitlin Clark is then null and void. Because last time he used Caitlin Clark as an excuse, they did the same rating that they normally do around the time, like the new normal, which is right. Caitlin Clark is not an excuse. And when this rating comes out and it's like 660,000 or the 700,000, if Dave ever says this, we call him out. We already are going to call him out anyways, but he cannot use this excuse anymore because it's just a non-factor. So none of these people are watching WNBA. Maybe that one guy breaking down Romper Stomper will be there, but Grand Slam is usually one of the highest rated shows of the year, but this year they're going against Caitlin Clark, blah, blah, blah. I saw a stat that blew my mind, blah, blah, blah. Up from 4. Okay. He's Hulk Hogan on steroids. Okay. Bad analogy. Yeah. You think, Dave, you're not funny. You're not charming. I'm so mean. I'm so fucking mean. Apparently, so Meltzer said what again? Apparently you need to be a hack fraud. I love it. Hacksaw Jim Douglas. Call it the hacks, man. Apparently you need to be a hack fraud to write for free for F4W as well. So this guy goes, it was great. No surprise that Dave's live recapper buried it. And WWE SmackDown live results. Oh, I didn't review SmackDown, guys. It's all good. It's all good. LA Knight and Andrade on SmackDown had a really weird moment where, you know, LA Knight slipped, like botched the top rope, whatever, but then they did a perfect job of saving it. So what happened was LA Knight does that jump to the top rope suplex thing, like Kurt Angle used to do that, you know. Shelton Benjamin, I think, would do that. So he goes for that move, and then he slips, and then he tries it again, kind of slips again, and then Andrade saves it by pushing LA Knight off the rope, and then he goes for a double missile drop kick, and LA Knight gets out of the way at the last second. Andrade lands, sells it perfectly, gets up, BFT finish. So they saved the botch like so well. But it was clearly, but here's the thing, right before that, Andrade hit the spinning back elbow, and it for shoot cut a cut over LA Knight's right eye. And he got color for real. And also LA, it wasn't like brutal. Like, I don't know if you guys watched the last UFC, man. Irene Aldana got sliced up. Go look that up. It was nasty. It's not that bad, but it was LA Knight got cut for real on the elbow. And also, like, after so this was all before the turnbuckle spot. Sorry, I should have mentioned. I think he got a little rocked by that elbow spot, right? And you guys know the spinning back fist, the Judas effect, but Andrade did it first, the elbow part of me. And so Andrade, after the elbow, he covered LA Knight as well. And that count was close, man. That was like 2.999999. I don't know. I think LA Knight was a little wobbly after that one. So anyways, though, at the end of the match, LA Knight's bleeding. They go to shake hands, but like LA Knight goes to do like a fist pump. And then Andrade like goes to shake his hand. And then LA Knight's looking at him like, what? Like, nah, come on. And then Andrade's like, nah, like, and then he goes to grab. I wish I could play it, but we'll give Don Stevens. So Andrade like goes to grab LA Knight's hand with his other hand to like force a handshake. And then LA Knight's like pulling his arm away, like, nah, get the fuck away. What are you doing? And then they like get in this weird, awkward handshake. And then he walks away. And then LA Knight's looking at him like, what the fuck's wrong with you? I don't know what they're doing with that. There's no way. I think LA Knight, if I had to guess, I think he got a little rockied from that elbow. I think it actually kind of, and he was a little like, what are we supposed to do here? But then later in the night, there was a handshake between Cody and there was a handshake in like the main event, right? Like in the last angle as well. I think it was KO and Cody. So maybe the spot called for like a fist bump, and then Andrade did up, and LA Knight's like, what are you doing? Because like they do 2 handshakes in one show. Dave talks about it and reviews it himself, and he goes, I don't know. Oh, so this is him talking about the Cody Rhodes Roman Reigns cinematic confrontation. So also on SmackDown, there was a cinematic confrontation. So instead of cinematic matches, we get the cinematic vignettes and promos. Well, vignettes are always cinematic, but like the promos between, I'm so down. Some guy for $2 says Andrade legit knocked out Cedric with that. Exactly.
What?
Exactly, man. And that's what I'm saying. I think if you guys go back and watch it, I rewound it and watched it like again, because I was like, damn, he really almost got pinned there, So Dave, he talks about the cinematic promos they had between Cody and Roman, which was phenomenal, man. They had this music playing. They're at Georgia Tech. I felt like Roman outacted Cody all day on that one. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. But Meltzer goes, and like everybody just loved it. Like Jeremy Borash from TNA helped produce it. Heyman directed it. Yeah, so it was brilliant work. Everyone loved it. Meltzer goes, I don't know. This wasn't for me. Not on a pro wrestling show. So he's down with Dinner Debonair, Commander doing Lucha House Party, neo-Nazi romper stomper gimmicks. He's down with Hypodermic Needle, guys, Bed of Nail, like all of this crazy. But he's not down with a cinematic promo, dude. Crazy. Production is great. Drama is there. It looks like a movie, blah, blah, and blah. I could have done without it because I like my pro wrestling with a side of grit. Dude, they were literally on the gridiron, Dave. They were literally on the gridiron face to face, man. It was gritty. He don't got no taste. I wonder if he goes out and watches movies. But anyways, he goes, this was great in terms of explaining how and why these two will team together. Well, Dave, isn't that the whole point of the promo?
The best guys, Tony Khan.
To explain to everyone why they're going to team up and everything. Cody wanted Roman's word that he would stand by him, considering they are going into that battle against Roman's family, and that was a key aspect of the story that needed to be explained. So in that way, this worked better than a standard opening SmackDown promo segment that would have felt too normal. But I didn't like it. What an idiot, dude. Somebody said it too. Yeah, if in the chat, if they did this in AEW, if this was like Swerve and Hangman did this, he'd be like, oh, the greatest promo of all time. Oh. He'd be like Randy Marsh in that South Park where he finds that computer. Yeah, so he goes on to say, so in that way, okay, that said, mission accomplished. The signee excess, though, not for this viewer. So now it's just, oh, I'm gonna pout and I'm just gonna say Nope, I like wrestling in my wrestling show.
Emotional damage.
Nope. Harley Cameron needs 8 more minutes instead of this. This wasn't for me. Meltzer just pouting and crying. Hilarious, dude. Just coping. I love it. The 97th report on the AEW TV deal, including exclusive free information from the only person with sources on F4W, Andrew Zarian. Paid subscribers can read our own Dave Meltzer's premium report on the Puck Report with no mention of Zarian's report. So report AEW pay-per-views to stream on Max 2025. They wish in IMAX. But yeah, Brian's going to snap over this AEW YouTube TV overrun DVR topic. So Brian posts on the thing, right? He goes, I'm going to try and explain this in as few words as possible. Upon editing, I clearly failed. I will use large caps often. Do not respond to this post until you read it from start to finish. YouTube TV is not like a normal DVR. You do not record a time frame, say 8 to 11. There's no on-screen guide where you choose the show you want to record and then easily choose to also record whatever show airs after. The way it works is you search WWE Raw, and when it comes up, you choose Add Show. That's it. YouTube TV then records the show. There's no option to add time for shows that have an overrun. I don't know why he's had to explain this so much to people. Idiots that flock Meltzer, man. Note, I do not care how your particular DVR works. Exactly. So as Dave has mentioned many times, if you watch sports, you know they go long. So normally you would add time. You cannot add time on YouTube TV. But guess what? YouTube TV has already thought of this. If you record, for example, the Kentucky Derby and it is scheduled for 8 to 11, YouTube TV will automatically add an extra hour in case it goes long. But for AEW, they don't. That's the point he's trying to make. How because no one understood this over in Meltzer land. Jesus, look at this. He's still going. YouTube TV does this for all sports award shows, etc. Hence, if you are a sports fan on planning to tune in on delay for interminably long Oscar speeches, you never have the issue of your recording cutting out. YouTube TV also does this for NXT. NXT on YouTube TV is listed as a 2-hour and 9-minute show every week, and the overrun is hence recorded every week. Dynamite is listed as a 2-hour and 1-minute show every week, 2-hour and 1 minute. The show regularly goes longer than that, hence every week the entire show isn't recorded. I do not know this 100%, but my presumption is that NXT has told YouTube TV that the show is 2 hours and 9 minutes. AEW, on the other hand, has not bothered to do so. It's more than that. They suck at YouTube. Whoever their YouTube people are need to hire me because I know better than them. I do. You have less subs than the bro. I know, but trust me. I don't have $1 billion either, you know. So my guess is Tony Khan also does not have YouTube TV. Exactly. That's a big part of it right there. Because he will constantly tweet that there will be an overrun, as if warning us will make YouTube TV work properly. It will not. Warning us does no good whatsoever. If anything, it's more irritating. Now, if a person were to figure out what show airs after Dynamite every week and record it, guess what? Dynamite will still cut off. Then you have to open the app, go back into your library, search for whatever show you recorded that airs after Dynamite, and queue that up. It would be faster to just go to the AEW YouTube and watch the end of the show there. Whichever option you choose, neither of them is convenient to the viewer. And that's what Alvarez is spitting actual game. If they had a thing that was like, join us for the overrun over live and the post show, talking Dynamite, exploding talk over on our YouTube channel. It happens right after YouTube TV airing of Dynamite. Everyone go over. They even have like a transfer thing for live feeds now on YouTube. Everyone goes over to their YouTube, and then they get everyone in there talking about AEW. Like he's actually spitting game to AEW, and they'll never listen. So to recap, if you have YouTube TV, I don't need this guy to recap. We understand. Dave's an idiot. Brian, I feel so bad for you sometimes. Yeah, we're done with that one. That's craziness. So, and then I read the 97th report. So here we go. Observers reporting on a Zarian report and blah, 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 blah. You can pay their premium to read Zarian's report, basically. And AEW's pay-per-views will reportedly have a new home in 2025, according to Zarian on Mat Men podcast. They will stream on WBD Discovery's streaming service, Max, beginning in January. Okay. Catching up. They will be on Max in January, Zarian said. They could do it sooner, but I know. So it's just funny because what they're doing is you can pay Meltzer. So look, Dave Meltzer, subscriber exclusive. So you pay them. Meltzer analyzes new details in AEW's media rights deal. So you got to pay them to report on Zarian's report. Thank God for Meltzer said what, because that's the type of fraudulent that needs to be called out. So here's our last one here. Uncle Dave, Pablo Canuck, tagged me in this. So here we go. This guy goes, but why when NXT does something, it's not wrestling, but when Ricochet and Ospreay do the same thing, it's 5 stars? And Meltzer goes, 2 answers to your silly question. I don't think I ever gave Ricochet versus Will a 5. You don't think, or did you not, Dave? You better go fact check that, because somebody will. And people at the time were pissed because they had a match in Europe that was ridiculously good. Dave, nobody was pissed that they had a match that was ridiculously good in Europe. You dumb. Nobody saw it except for marks like me on the internet who look up wrestling on the internet. No one was pissed, Dave. You ain't hype for $5 says, I want AEW to thrive. Samesies. Twins. That said, the path currently being traveled is leading to their demise. Yeah, absolutely. All the history of running episodic TV is there. Use it. Bro, exactly. I don't even, what are we going to do? Keep saying, Tony needs to stop doing creative. I wish I had more microphones so I could say it to a bunch of mics. He needs to get off creative. It's that simple. Okay, you can't be the stat guy drafting in a neck brace with a board at the draft and, doing Fulham and you just can't do it all. Just can't do it all, man. It's hard enough to be like booking 3 wrestling shows, let alone all this. So, and Meltzer's absolutely contributed to it, but according to him,
best guys, Tony Khan.
So, yeah, Dave goes along to your silly question, talking down to this guy. And I don't know, man. Yeah, no one saw that Europe, and he might have given them 5 stars. He goes, also, well, I've given many 5s in NXT. Dave, we just calculated that Ospreay alone has more 5 or more stars than every wrestling promotion ever combined, basically. So you haven't given many, maybe 2. There's never been a match of that style. Those 2 worked in NXT that good. What is he even saying? There's never been a match of that style. Those 2 worked in NXT that good. Those 2. Is he referring to the stars? So you gave NXT 2 star ratings and that's many? Is that what he's saying, chat? Did I just decipher dumb Dave's talk there? Of that style. What's the style? Doing 8 million flips? And I'm not mad. When they did it, it went viral and I went, oh man, that's awesome. Because it's once in a while, guys. Right? I'm not one of these guys oh yeah, the blow up doll works because it's once in a while. Trust me. But the Ricochet Ospreay thing was it's once in a blue moon you ever see that. And then in the chat here too, we see, has NXT gotten a 5-star since 2019, Dave? Exactly. Why? What was going on then? Everyone who's in AEW now was in NXT then. So that's why he's a stooge. We've exposed it so much. And yeah, that was Dave Meltzer's dumb moment of the week.